All right, thank you. Is everybody back with us? Hopefully. All right, we have a new person. So this is Mitch. Thank you, Mitch, first of all, for coming and joining us. We sort of told Mitch what we want to do here is we want to do a pretend sort of assessment.
My bad.
But you can see my red shoes again. We were meant to do a mark on this one. Anyway, we're doing well. You got to give us a little bit of credit. It's 5 o'clock our time. So anyway, we're going to do sort of a bit of an a simulation of an assessment. You know, what I would ask a little bit about if I were meeting Mitch for the first time. Okay. And we've got some peanut galleries here, so they'll ask some questions as well. Just sort of run through how this process would look. Okay, so Mitch, we'll turn it over to you. Introduce yourself.
Mitch, 32
Come on in
years
a little
old.
bit.
Had my accident 10 years ago on Sunday.
Oh,
Yeah, on Sunday.
happy anniversary.
I had a boat accident, hit a channel marker, dislocated a vertebrae, and crushed one underneath it.
In Sydney?
Yeah, in Sydney, on a river. Luckily stayed inside the boat, had 9.5 hours floating around waiting for help.
You were by
Help
yourself?
arrived. Yeah, by myself. When help arrived, I'd also snapped my arm, broken ribs, had a mild concussion and mild hypothermia. So it's been a little while in hospital. Ended up with a pressure sore at the start, and through silly mistakes on my own, but that put me 6 months in a prone trolley and back up. Never had one, so I haven't had anything major since.
Okay, so you had a skin breakdown
Yeah.
in hospital when you were doing rehab.
Yeah, I went away for 5 days to the Gold Coast and went to a shooting range and a bullet shell dropped down my back,
Oh, no.
down a hole, and then
Oh,
didn't know
no.
what was going on and thought it was a really bad hangover, but it was a pressure sore developing
And where was that?
on my sacrum.
Okay, right in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay. And you thought it was a really bad hangover. Like, describe sort of what you mean by that.
So I felt really sick, high temperatures. Probably wasn't that normal, but yeah, it was a couple of days where I wasn't feeling well, and then I got back to the rehab, and
But when they weren't very happy.
they weren't back. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, sort of went from that.
but and then ended up longer in rehab,
Yeah.
prone
Prone
trolley
trolley.
to heal it up.
Yeah.
Yep. No graft.
No, they talked about grafts, but they decided against it. It was healing too quickly on its own, so
Okay.
went against grafts.
Okay. And how is that area now? Have you had any problems with it since?
No.
Do you have to baby it at all?
No, I do care. I am careful. But,
Yep.
I don't have to baby it or anything.
Okay. Just sort of careful like you'd be with the rest of your skin.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Cool. So as we're just talking here, right, I'm very interested in any history of skin breakdowns, where it is. I'm interested in knowing how it healed. You have limited amount of flaps. Like if you get a really big grade 3 or grade 4 pressure injury, they can sometimes put a flap of skin over it from elsewhere, but you've sort of got a limited amount of those. And because Mitch is young, they probably really didn't want to use up one of those flaps, and it was healing so well. But so all that is really good information. He's now got previous history, which is a primary risk factor. Complete injury?
Yes. Yeah.
So no sensation?
From a sternum, so T5, T45.
And what one did you break? Do you remember?
T5.
Okay, so a T5A, a spinal classification, but no sensation. So that's one of those other big risk factors that can be overcome by a good pressure relief. Okay, so do you do good pressure reliefs?
Yeah, I'm always bending over or lifting myself up, readjusting, sitting.
Okay, can you show us those?
So either bending over, chest on my knees.
Yep.
Or lift myself up out of the chair.
Yep. And do that
Quite a lot. I don't know. I just sort of becomes a habit.
every 30 minutes, every hour, something like that.
Probably even more
Even more frequently than
that.
that. Okay, good. Okay, so it's an injury. What else do we need to know about you? What did you do before?
I
Before the
was a
accident?
glazier before I broke my back. Now as Glazier, I was playing football and soccer. So rugby league and soccer. A lot of fishing, rock fishing. So I don't do much rock fishing anymore. It's been hard to get down there. I do more in the boat. And now I'm still playing wheelchair rugby league and wheelchair basketball.
Okay. And working?
Yes, so it's working full time as an equipment supplier as well.
Okay. And so how long would you spend in your chair every day, would you say?
Ooh, probably at least 16 hours a day.
Yep. Okay. How do you sleep?
In my bed.
Good answer.
It's sideline.
Inside lying?
Yeah.
Okay. Not in your belly?
No, I do stretch on my belly. Not enough, but.
Yeah. So like at night, you'll pop out of your chair and go onto the floor?
No, on the bed.
On the bed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you go into the floor at all?
When I fall out.
Okay.
That's about it.
And you can get back in?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously if you're playing sports. Okay. So we talked about working full time, playing 2 sports, active outdoor guy,
Yes.
boating, fishing.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
What else?
Got a nice bruise on my back at the moment from go-karting.
Oh, no.
On the weekend. It's a little bit high, it's not getting any pressure.
Think active guy here. Okay, I'm gonna take everybody's computer off mute. And does anybody else have any questions that we want to know answer to?
Or would anybody ask anything else as well?
So what did we find out? We have a previous history of a skin breakdown. Good now, nothing since. Oh, I know, we didn't ask you anything about what you like, what you don't like. Sitting 16 hours a day. Bladder's well managed?
Yes.
Yep. Bladder's well managed. Yeah, working full time, sports sort of stuff. Yep. You know, he'd hear for a new wheelchair, right? If this was a real thing. But tell us about what you like about that wheelchair, or if you wish things were different, or how you chose maybe.
Sorry?
Or how you chose that one.
I chose this one. I chose this one because I previously kept bending and breaking my previous chair.
Okay.
So I needed something a bit more
Robust.
rigid, robust,
Okay.
something that's not going to break.
And
So
come on in a little bit, do a little twirl for us.
I went for
He's in, we're gonna call it a open frame dual tube. Yeah, so you can see a rigid chair. Because he's really active, you pull it in and out of your car by yourself, pops the wheels off. So open frame, but because he's a harder user, we put in a second tube, so it's a dual frame just to give it that extra durability.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
what I don't. In my previous chair, I had an ergo seat, which I will go back to. I found it a lot more comfortable, a lot better for my stability with the level of my injury. So
Okay.
I'll go back to an ergo again.
Okay. So he's in, if this is the seat of the chair, it's flat from front to back. It might be a little bit raked or dumped. Yeah, but in his previous chair, it had like a little ischial shelf in it to keep the pelvis more stable. So you now know that you liked that a little bit better.
Yeah.
Why did you not do it in the second one?
I was changing my rear seat to floor height and just wanted to see how it would go without it. And so I was going to keep the same rear seat to floor height, but put an ergo.
Yeah. Okay. And maybe do a pirouette so we can see your back support. Pretty low, just show you where that is. So, way below his scapula, that bottom of the scapula would be right here. So very low, just giving him basically pelvic sacral support and real freedom to push. Okay. You're pretty happy with the chair, so it's not like if he was here for an appointment, we'd be like, hey, it's broken, or we need to replace this, or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the main thing what you'd go about doing is going in and saying, what do you like about the chair and what don't you like? And just getting those key things, because whether you need to change factors or that would be the main points to ask as well.
And then asking about, does it fit places? Are you able to get into your car easily?
Yeah, so I've got a 14 wide, which is right on my width, but that's for when I go to sporting events. When you've got 200 people there, trying to use a disabled toilet, and then I can fit into a regular cubicle with my 14-inch wide chair.
Okay. And you're in there, so,
I'm in there.
and you're just watching your skin here?
Yeah,
Yep.
I've not got any marks showing through, so it's fine. I use a 14 wide sports chair as well, so.
Okay, so you knew it was gonna work, yeah.
Yeah.
And probably no camber, hey? If you wanna go straight
I
on,
do have
you
two
do, okay.
degrees. Yeah.
Sometimes people will go no camber for that exact reason, where they just wanna be able to sneak in between places, get just that little bit narrow. But probably because you're 14 wide, you can get that little bit of camber, okay? So in and out of the car easily enough. The other thing you'd probably consider, especially for somebody like Mitch, is front seat height good? Is rear seat height good? Are you able to do the things in your kitchen you want to do, things in your bathroom? You won't just want to check out all those things.
Yeah, so front seat height, I had to adjust a little bit because I was having trouble getting under tables a lot of places. Because I do have quite long legs, so I keep my foot plate closer to the ground and I can get under tables better.
Okay, and what did you adjust?
My front seat to floor height.
So you can adjust with the casters?
No, I did it in a new chair.
Okay, compared to the old chair?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then I guess if you're talking about a rigid chair, you'd want to consider sort of the overall footprint, how long the chair is. Do you like where your feet are? Do you like where your knees are?
Yeah, so I got a 75-degree front hanger angle. That was more for my spasm, to slow my spasm down, which has worked well.
Okay, yep. Good. And I guess Annette or somebody, if you can't hear all we're saying, just give a shout out. You're all not on mute. Okay, so a couple of things we picked up there. Spasticity was a concern. So if I'm going to get out here, I just want to make sure that I just thought that maybe there might be some spasticity that might kick in. We saw some of those case studies before, especially that one guy where we tucked his legs in like that so far. We did that for a very similar reason. Remember, if you want to reduce somebody's spasticity, you can increase that knee bend, stretch out the quads a little bit, put the hamstrings a little bit on slack, and they just won't be able to work as well. So that's what you've done with your chair, just to
I did the
manage.
opposite. So it's put my legs out a bit.
Oh, backwards and
tucking them in.
Made it worse.
Yeah, me a bit more spasm.
Okay. Good. And do you like the wheels and the tires and the hand rim?
Yeah, so I've got the natural fits on a short tab, which is comfortable for me.
Go a little bit closer to the camera and maybe do that pirouette again for us. So a little bit back. Yep. The natural fits, again, it's hard because the black, but they're sort of ergonomic. They're elliptically shaped.
So yeah, they fit the hand a little bit better. If I grab it, probably. And then they're on a short tab, so can't get fingers stuck in there. Smash them. Not that I had a problem with it, but just made the whole chair narrower.
Narrower.
I went for the spinner G's. They're a lot lighter. They're stronger than the steel spokes. And
okay.
I needed strength in what I was doing.
Yeah. Drop your middle finger. We're sort of now getting into wheelchair stuff, but just a really good example of how we would want somebody to be positioned over their wheelchair. So we want head over shoulders over his pelvis, and then sort of for normal proportion people, we'd love the tip of their middle finger to come to the center of the wheel. Yeah, so he's got a good push stroke. Give us a couple pushes. I'm changing the game, aren't I? And this is actually a really great way to push. Notice as he's pushing, he's dropping his hand, letting it just come back naturally. Perfect. One more time. Yeah, but you did it automatically. See how he's letting it drop? He's not picking it back up. Last time.
Now you're thinking about it, you're like, what do I do it?
No, I've been told off before for going sharp.
You didn't on the very beginning ones yet. Okay, so looking good. Just on here.
Yep.
Any questions? And you know, if somebody can do this by themselves, I let them do it by themselves. Let me just make sure this is left. Yep. And then see sort of what's happening. I noticed just a little bit of spasticity in your leg there, or you're in your foot. See how he does that transfer. See how his balance is. He's lost his drawers along the way. Yeah. And I knew we were going to be a little bit short, but that's okay. Sneak all the way back on there for me.
all the way back. That's it.
Yep. Okay, and sort of, you know, again, looking at his balance, he can hold his balance. He's working pretty hard. You probably can't see that, not hard, but
Yeah.
you're we're worried about.
Still not responding.
That's okay. We're good there. Sorry, guys. We have a cyborg on the computer, on the camera. Okay. So back to where we were. I'm obviously able to hold his own balance quite well, hands in lap. What happens when you reach out of your base of support? Okay, can you reach forward?
Yeah, it's just that. I get to a point that
Okay.
doesn't myself.
Hands on top of your head. Yep. Okay. And I'm just looking again for that postural tendency. And he just starts to rotate, sort of posteriorly rotate backwards. Okay. Just increasing his base of support to give himself some stability. Yep. Okay. Can you go head down that way and lie down on the mat?
Yep, face down.
No, just on your back.
On
Yep.
the back,
Sorry.
yeah.
Do you want, and I'll let you grab your legs.
Yep, not my issue.
That's good. Just don't fall off. Okay.
So I'll get myself back up.
How tall are you?
6'3".
And you've been sitting all day.
Yes. So I'll be a bit tight.
Are you okay? Do you want me to scoot you down a little bit? Can I just slide you down? You got it? Oh, does it feel funny? Do you want a pillow?
Yes.
One of those nice new cushions. Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Whew. Just letting them relax a little bit. You saw a little bit of spasticity there. And we see a little bit of frog leg, a little bit of probably hip flexion, maybe tightness. It might just be where his shoes are. Okay, like getting stuck. So we'll just take a look. A little bit of spasticity there. I might take your shoes off too, just for giggles.
Yep.
And, you know, I mean, I know Mitch, but I've not done an assessment before. No fractures except for the arm in your injury. Legs are good.
Yeah. Like,
Do you stand? I meant to ask that before. Do you have a standing regimen?
I haven't for a while, but I've got a stand chair.
You've got a standing chair. Okay. And what's a while?
Probably
Year?
at least 6 months, let's say.
Okay. And because you don't have time?
Yeah. Pretty well.
Yep.
It was normally to change my light bulbs, but I've got downlights now.
So it was only to change.
It was normally to change my light bulbs, but I've got downlights now.
Oh, and do you live by yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so, you know, again, it's probably hard to see just because his genes sort of match, but we got a little bit of tightness there. But again, really what we're doing here is we're just looking at range for his wheelchair. Okay, but just figure that out. And a little bit of spasticity there coming together. So. And we got a little bit lazy. We didn't plug in the table. So it would be, if I had, you know, if I were in a real clinic, I'd probably raise up the table a little bit. Okay. He's big, a little bit, he's tall, sorry. How tall are you?
6'3".
6'3". You know, he's tall, so his legs are gonna be long. I was warned off a little bit that he'd have a lot of spasticity, so I'm just sort of going one at a time just to make sure that I know what's going on. I got a little catch right there. All right. A little bit of a catch there. Just kicking in some spasticity here. And then we'll see if we can get the other one going. I'll just go in front of the camera. Okay. And then what I would like to do is just sort of see how his pelvis is moving, just see if ASIS and PSIS is, you know, about right and whatever. I can already see pretty even here. Take a look at legs, leg length. Again, it's a little bit hard to see, but a little bit of a leg length discrepancy here. You see a little bit difference in height. It could be because the pelvis is rotated. It could be because of a dislocation. It could be because one leg is longer. So just sort of pick those up and then go to the source and see if you can figure out what's going on. It's not a lot, just a little, but just because I'm being pedantic. And then I'll look for the ASIS and maybe the PSIS, so depending. So I know about where his ASIS should be, poke there, and I'm gonna go below it and see where the hook is, because all of our adult clients have a little, our hip flexors has been attached there, so I just know them in the same place. I've got my chest here, just so that if all of a sudden he gets a big spasm, my head's out of the way. I just got his legs sort of captured, just in case, okay? And we're a little bit, we're even, a smidge off maybe. Let's see if I can move you just a smidge. Let's pretend he was way off. Let's pretend he was way off. One was higher than the other. All I would do is be like, can I move the other way? And then recheck. If he was really windswept, let me know if anything hurts.
No,
Yep. If anything was really windswept, like legs coming to one side or the other, hey, let's see if we can go back to the midline. Should have told you to wear your white painter's outfit. We neglected that. Okay. When I'm moving this, I want to look at the trunk. Does that trunk move as well, or can I move these by themselves? Okay. Look for rotation. Look for flexion. Hopefully you can see my hand. Okay. Look for wrinkles in a shirt. Any sort of movement there, I don't want. I want to have the pelvis in a nice midline position, and keep it there even when I'm correcting what might be happening at the legs. Okay, so as expected, really nice and symmetric. Anterior, I guess I'll do side to side first. Side to side, this way, and rotation wise, yeah. The last bit would be for maybe a geriatric client or more involved client would be the anterior posterior. Do I see a big posterior pelvic tilt? I already saw him in sitting. I know I can get to neutral. I saw him lift up. I saw him roll back a little bit, so I sort of have an idea of what that movement is. Also, I can see that his back is onto the mat. There's no big lumbar arch. His back was flat onto the mat, head in good alignment. So I can assume that that pelvis is in a really nice and neutral, not anterior posterior rotation. Okay, so then the next thing I just want to look at real quickly is his range of motion. Okay, and if you'll just help me hold one leg. I could do this if I were by myself. I would just come from that position and move this one. But I think in terms of the camera, that'll just be easier if you just get some support there. Okay, I've left the shoes on. Okay, and then I'm just going to pick up, and I'm going to put his leg in the crook of my arm. I have a choice. And I'm gonna wrap my hand around his knee, and I'll sort of kneel just to get out of the way. I'm gonna put my hand back into his ASIS, and I'm just gonna look at what sort of hip flexion I have. And there's a spasm. Yeah. And we'll just do it again. Just hopefully you can see it. I can definitely feel it. I get to about here, and I was safe. I get to about there. And I got sort of moderate, mild moderate spasticity. Okay, so make sure I'm not pulling out here. Do it a couple times. Okay, just to see where I trigger that spasticity, how much range I have. Remember what I want is I want 90 degrees. And I got 90 degrees without any movement here. Okay, keep my hand on that ASIS, and then I'm going to keep that there, keep the knee in line, and I'm just going to look at what sort of hamstring range I have. Kicking up a little bit of spasticity there, but I got 90. You got. Okay, just to know sort of where that spasticity kicks in, I would have plenty of range. Let me go a little bit further. Okay, you'll notice that, I'm sort of sneaking down a really wide base of support just because I've gotten a little bit lazy, we didn't plug in the mat. It's a little bit low. If we had electricity, I would have just risen up the table. I don't think that's a word, but you get what I mean. Here, while you're at hip flexion, while you're at that leg position, make sure that you've got neutral in terms of abduction, adduction. Make sure that you've got, you've got neutral in terms of internal rotation, external rotation. Okay, then the last piece, switch sides. Just gonna look at how much dorsiflexion I have. Standing would help that.
Yeah.
He's a little bit shy. We could see that when you're sitting in your chair. So standing would help that. Just a little bit shy of neutral dorsiflexion. Okay, switch. Okay, so just do the same thing on this side and hopefully you can just see a little bit better. Put his leg in the crook of my arm and I tend to wrap around just so that I can control, hopefully you can see that. Just wrap right around the knee so I can not introduce a lot of external rotation or abduction. Just lets me control that while I keep one hand on ASAS. A little bit sooner on that side. Pretty similar, but we kick into extensor tone right there-ish. Okay, but I got plenty of range. Check that we're in neutral, internal, external rotation, abduction, adduction. And then just check hamstring range. And dorsiflexion. Okay. Do that one a couple times. Just make sure that you're, just to check whether you've got any spasticity. Okay. All right, make sure that you keep the amount of hip flexion that you want in the chair, the amount of knee extension or flexion you want in the chair, and then check your dorsiflexion on that. Okay. Here would be also a good opportunity to look at skin, make sure there's no red areas, there's not any broken down areas. If like his skin hadn't healed up that well, as well as it did so long ago, I'd probably just look at it and see what the scarring looks like. But we won't do that to you. Also look at range of motion of the shoulders. If you're worried about what kind of range they have, this would be a good location to do that. Otherwise, all good. Anything I missed? Anything I missed? Any questions? Hopefully you could see that. Good. Okay. Last piece of the puzzle will just be coming and sitting to face the camera. Yep. Do you want us to help?
That should be.
And I always feel like a mean therapist, but I really try and let them do as much as they can, just so that I can understand how they do things and how their body works. Yep. Okay. And then from here, if I had picked up any asymmetries, I would look towards those. If I had found a pelvic obliquity that was reducible, I put something up underneath that low side. If I had found a pelvic obliquity that wasn't reducible, and build up under the high side. First thing I do here. And then I would work towards anterior, posterior pelvic tilt. Then look at the rotation. Then look at the back height. Okay. So just for fun,
Yep.
he didn't have any pelvic obliquity. But if I could look at how much we could neutralize his pelvis, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of a push to back.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna give a forward push at his pelvis and then see what it does to his balance. And then, because Mitch really knows where he gets control of his body.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Feels like I'm more upright.
Does it feel crummy? Does it feel scary, or does it feel better?
It feels like I probably end up pulling forwards a little bit.
Too much. Okay.
I feel like I'm falling backwards there.
Yeah, somewhere in between. Okay, I'm gonna let go for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. And remember in those slides that we looked at before, if I wasn't on camera, really what I would do with somebody like Mitch is I'd be on a rolly stool right in front, and I'd lean him all the way forward and then bring him back. Actually, Rob, if I can borrow you hold that and sit that by facing that way. Pretend I'm on a rolly stool, and I would come here, sort of block, lean him all the way forward, and then all the way back. Rob doesn't have a ton of flexibility. Okay, and I'm at his pelvis, and I'm pulling this way and pushing back with my body that way. And that way it would be pretty easy for me to come too far into anterior rotation and then let it off. Okay, other thing we could do, stay there for a sec. Give myself a little room. Yes, good over. Come back onto that. And the only reason I'm sort of doing Robin said is I vacillated which way I wanted you to face.
Yeah.
So we'll pretend this is you. Give a little bit of support here. And then you can work on the amount of back height that he needs. My legs are giving the pelvic stability. Now my hands are deciding what I want that back support to be. Okay, and if I wanted to do a little bit here, I've got my elbow into my body, or I could use my knees again, and then I can have my hands create that back height, that shape in terms of contour, and even back a little bit towards me. Even sort of back angle. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing with Mitch, but you're not gonna be able to see my hands because I'm behind him. So I'm just gonna put my back at sort of the height that I'm guessing, at the angle, forward back, at the contour. And then Mitch can tell me, hey, yep, I like that. Ooh, that's too far forward. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And we can sort of determine what height back is worth trialing in his trial. Okay. So you're probably good there.
Yeah.
So here he's a little bit posteriorly rotated. How do you feel?
I feel like I'm sitting in a crack.
And there's more give it that.
He was in a crack from back. Okay. Now how do you feel?
Feel a lot better.
And how do you feel forward, backwards?
No, I feel like I'm sort of slumped.
Slouchy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just doing it with my hand because it's easier because of the height of the table. And I tend to use, sort of this guy just to sort of facilitate where I want him to go. And I can feel that, when he's having to use postural correction muscles, whatever. How does that feel?
That feels more comfortable.
Okay. I'll go a little bit too far.
Yeah, that feels, yeah.
Okay. And you'll see their neck will sort of jut out. They'll start holding on, or you'll get more muscle activity. So it'll come back a little bit. And we'll go in between.
Yeah, that's good.
And so then I can go, how about there? And I'm squishing with my fingers a little bit because he's not gonna have great sensation all the way down here. We're just trying to figure out how high he might think he wants that backrest.
Yeah, it feels a bit too high.
Okay, good. And there.
It feels a bit better.
And too
Right,
far?
you're gonna push forward, yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay, you got your balance for a sec?
Yep.
And so then I would mark my spot. Pretend his back is right here. I got my hand sort of doing this. Let go with one. Hey, there's the support height that's required. 12 inches. Okay. Whatever, take that with your measuring tape, figure out how wide it needs to be, figure out the contour it needs to be, figure out what sort of sacral support he needs. In terms of cushions, he's sitting on a Vicare. Does that work for you pretty well?
Yeah. Yeah, that and I use Supercore as well.
What do you like about the Vicare?
I don't know. It feels pretty comfortable.
Did you try a bunch?
Yeah, I tried a few things. I tried a Rayhome Hybrid Elite. Didn't like that because of the stability. It was giving me a lot of back pain. The Vicare, less maintenance, but it's probably still more than what I need.
More skin protection that you need?
Yeah.
Okay. And when do you go to the Supercore?
I was in a Supercore before the Vicare when I was on the Ergo seat because it does work better with an Ergo.
Yeah. Okay. So cushions for somebody like Mitch, it's going to be a lot about weight and a lot about comfort and stability. It's one of those things where you would probably try multiple cushions in that range, in that category. Like J's would be an X2 or a J Light. Supercore is, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's like a
Honeycomb, but what's the material? Like a little honeycomb polyurethane that you can have a little bit contoured. It's really lightweight. It's really easy to clean.
Good for if you're going swimming.
Yeah, good for wet and drying. Yep. Vicare I tend to use if you need a lot of skin protection, but you want it to be simple and light. So any one of those cushions in that category would be worth trialing. I guess if we're gonna, I said J, right? Like a J X2, a J Easy, one of those in the low to moderate. Rojo would be worth trialing as well, like in a Hybrid Elite or in a low profile version. And then those 4 pillars, we need pressure relief positioning, the functionality of it, and the maintenance of it. So, yeah. And then backrest, we've determined the height, determined a little bit of the shape. Have you tried a sacral pad in here at all?
So that's not really my backrest. I gave mine away to someone the other day.
Did you?
And so I'm using a loan one.
And how do you like this one?
It feels a bit too high. It's
How about
not
curve?
not sure. Actually, I haven't really thought about it.
Okay.
I may have through. I'll put it on yesterday's.
Okay. Just in case you can't hear, he works for an equipment supplier. Yeah, and so you let somebody borrow yours?
Yeah.
For trial? Such a nice gentleman. Hope you have such good suppliers in WA. So this is his normal backrest, a little bit high.
A little bit high.
Yeah, so a little bit too high, he's saying, should put my hand at the top. It's got a deep contour in it. So I would like, if I were trialing backrest with him, I probably wouldn't do this deep of a curve because it's going to allow him to come into that kyphosis. We want to go somewhere halfway in between. We don't want to go too far. So something a little bit flatter contour. I would like to trial if we were doing this for real. Okay. Anything else? I think because we really were focusing on the seating, and which is pretty simple. Just plenty of range. We got to consider that spasticity, and you got to consider what's going to work for him. Super active. How many times would you get this in and out of the car every day? A lot.
Yeah, probably at least 10.
Yeah. So lifting this thing in and out of the car 10 times, sitting for 16 hours, doing all the adult things that we do. Okay. So just trying to make it as lightweight, as durable, as efficient as possible. Okay. With some comfortable pressure relieving positioning, seating on top. Okay. We sort of prepped the witness and said, okay, Mitch, if you would have known 2 things when you were selecting your first wheelchair, what might you have done differently?
Probably with my first year, but always go for it.
What number is this one?
This is number 3.
Number
3.
three.
Yeah,
Okay.
3. Yeah, so first chair I had for 7 years, which was way too long. It was, I broke it a couple of times, so it probably wasn't 7 years for the same chair. But I think the width of the chair at the start was too big.
Do you remember how wide it was? Is it 16 probably?
Yeah, it was 16.
Okay. starting at 16 and it's now 14. He's pretty snug in the 14, but in terms of access,
So I'll
yeah.
probably, like to start off, I probably would have gone for a 15 rather than 14,
Mhm.
just to have it that little bit tighter. Once I jumped from the 14 back into a 16, I feel like.
Dump truck.
Yeah, exactly. Probably just different products, but then a lot of that stuff was around 10 years ago. So,
True.
yeah, I tried
How many did you try?
3.
Do you remember?
So I
Okay.
started off with a J2, I think. And then there's a couple of different cushions, and then they ended up with a hybrid elite. So I think it was J2, a full Roho, and then ended up with hybrid elite
When you left, okay.
and that was mainly because of the safe
Yeah.
pressure store. They just wanted to be
Yeah,
extra
super
careful.
short. Yeah. Okay.
But then that was, it was probably more than what I needed. Went
Now
from there
it's-
to a super.
Okay. And if the therapist that helped you with that first chair, did they ask the right questions? It's probably a long time ago.
Yeah, it's 10 years ago, so I was trying to remember.
What would you have liked them to have considered or asked?
First chair is always hard because you don't know. But I suppose just letting you know that the first chair is never going to be perfect because your body does change in that first couple of years.
Yeah.
So first chair is never going to be 100% right. It's that when you start getting your second and third, that you start to find anything, get things a bit better when you.
You know how you're using it
You
and
know what
where
you're
you're
doing,
using
yeah.
it. Yeah. Okay. Anything else you wish they would have done? You probably had a pretty strong team anyway.
did
So
have a
you,
pretty
yeah,
strong
you got
team, so-
pretty lucky. Yeah.
I'm not really sure because as there you don't know what's there and what you should be doing. So
Yeah.
And that was 10 years ago. I can't really remember what.
Yeah,
really happened.
exactly. I guess the most important thing really is to ask questions, listen to the answer, use all the clues that the client is giving you. Look at their family, ask questions of their family, just so that, we're getting as much information as we can about how the client lives and what they do, so we can make appropriate equipment choices. We're really lucky here in Australia that we have access to equipment, but sometimes that becomes overwhelming. It's like, which one of these is best and how do I choose? So I really believe that it starts with a really strong assessment and, in conversation with somebody about what they want it to be. Anything from sort of the supplier side? And then come into frame.
I think the
We'll
biggest
say
thing that
goodbye.
we've all said so many times is don't overcomplicate things. Don't try to overcomplicate, make it more user friendly, rather than think about what they're going to do as opposed to, I'm trying to overprotect and think, they might need this, I'll order that, they might need this.
In terms of over prescription.
Yeah,
For practicality.
yeah, just think about what you're going to do with it. There's a lot of, and talk to the user, because a lot of people, when they first pick that first chair, it's, I'm going to use this. And in reality, they never use it. Or I need it to fold, and they'll never fold it. In those sort of scenarios, it's really drill down and don't be scared to ask the questions.
Yeah, ask the question. Yep, that'll make you smarter in the assessment.
Absolutely. I was just going to touch base on what you guys have already said about what has worked and the reasons why, because that's really important to listen to those answers.
Yeah.
What works for you and what you're doing in your day-to-day life.
I guess both, hey?
Yeah.
What is working and what hasn't worked, or how you would change something.
Yeah,
The first thing I ask when I get an appointment is, what don't you like about the chair?
Yes.
Because everyone knows what they don't like. Not everyone can think of what they do like.
Yeah, but it's good to ask both, isn't
Yes,
it?
it is good to ask both, but
And
you
maybe
start
then
with
start with the bad.
always ask for bad, because they want to tell you that, don't they?
Yeah.
They want to go, I don't like this. I'm like, now what about this? Oh, I like that. Oh, I like, yeah, it just opens that freedom.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think we're good.
All right. Hey, everybody, thank you very, very much.
Any questions or anything you've got to ask? Oh, you're muted.
I think they're all self-muting. Yeah, give it unmute just real quick. Any questions?
Down the bottom. Cross.
Please reach out. At the all green, yeah. Again, we appreciate, hope you're having a good rest of the day. Any questions, please do email. Email us at the top and the bottom of the presentation deck. Bye for now.
It was the lady.
Yeah, and Annette had to go, so I don't think she's on there. So Annette gives her regards. She dropped off about 5 minutes ago. So, and a big shout out to Unicare. Thanks very much. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.